The Magic Doctor by Val Biro. Read by Robert Power. Once upon a time there was a poor bootmaker. He could neither read nor write, but he could make beautiful boots. One day, unfortunately, his wife became ill. He gave her potions, but she felt no better. He gave her hot spices, but she became worse. As there was no doctor in the village, the bootmaker went to see the doctor in the town. Many people were waiting to see the doctor, and it took a long time before it was the bootmaker's turn. At last he was shown in. "Please give me some medicine for my wife," he said. But the doctor refused. "I need to examine your wife first," he said, and he sent the bootmaker away. But the poor bootmaker wanted some medicine straight away because he was worried about his wife. So he waited until the next patient came out with a prescription in his hand. "Can I see that?" he asked. "Yes," replied the man, "and it cost me a golden crown." The bootmaker could neither read nor write, but he copied it out as best he could. He gave the man a golden crown and took his copy straight to the chemist. The chemist was, of course, quite unable to read the bootmaker's scrawl, but he was used to things like this. So he gave him a bottle of peppermint-flavoured water to be going on with. The bootmaker took it home and gave it to his wife. By next morning, she was completely cured. That made the poor bootmaker think. If it was so easy to cure people, and if there were so many people who wanted to be cured, then you could make more money by being a doctor than by being a bootmaker. You could earn a golden crown every time. Despite his wife's anxious protests, the bootmaker decided to become a doctor himself. But first he needed some money to set up in his new profession. So he sat down to make a beautiful pair of boots. "I will give these to the king," he said, "and I am sure he will reward me handsomely." At the royal palace, the sentry stopped him. When the bootmaker told him why he had come, the sentry announced, "I will let you pass only if you promise to give me half the king's reward." The poor bootmaker had to agree. But the steward at the king's door stopped him too. When he heard why the bootmaker had come, he too asked for half the king's reward. The poor bootmaker had to agree again before he was shown into the king's presence. The king was so delighted with the fine pair of boots that he offered a plateful of gold as a reward. But the bootmaker politely declined. "Please give me 100 strokes of the birch instead, Your Majesty," he said, "and please ask the sentry and the steward to come in first." When they entered, the bootmaker asked if they still wanted half the king's reward. "Yes," they cried greedily. The king laughed and ordered 50 strokes of the birch for each. He admired the bootmaker's cunning so much that he gave him 2 platefuls of gold instead. With this money, the bootmaker bought a house, a pointed hat, a coat, a table, books and papers, just like those of the doctor in town. Many patients came to see him, and he gave each one the same scrawl which he had copied out before, at a golden crown a time. The chemist was, of course, quite unable to read these, but he asked the patients what was wrong with them, and he gave each one the medicine he thought best, and all the patients got well again. Soon the bootmaker became famous far and wide, and people called him the Magic Doctor who could cure everybody. It was even said that he could solve everything and find anything. One fine day, the king sent for him. "If you are the magic doctor who can find anything," he said, "then find me the diamond ring which was stolen from the princess. If it is not found before her wedding, my people will blame me for being a careless king. So, magic doctor, find that ring by tomorrow. If you do not, you go to the gallows." The king gave him a fine room and 3 servants. But the poor bootmaker was in trouble. He knew well enough that he was quite unable to find the ring, and that therefore he must die. At any rate, he would spend his last day in comfort, and he asked for his wife to come and join him. But he did not worry her with his trouble. Instead, he began to boast. He was just telling her how he had 3 servants to wait on him when one of them brought in their dinner. "Look, this is one of them," said the bootmaker proudly. At which the servants stopped, stared, began to shake, dropped the tray, and fled back to the kitchen in sheer terror. "The magic doctor knows," he gasped. "He knows that we stole the ring from the princess. He knows everything." The other 2 servants began to shake in terror too. They were convinced that nothing could be hidden from the magic doctor. So they stumbled into his room and fell on their knees. "Mercy, magic doctor," they cried. "Here is the diamond ring, but spare us! And don't tell the king, we beg you!" The bootmaker was delighted at this unexpected turn of fortune. He was saved. But first he had to think. So he thought for a while. Then he had an idea. "Catch a turkey and fetch it in," he said. In no time, the 3 servants brought in a big turkey. "Now then," ordered the magic doctor, "hold the turkey and open his beak." Then he took the diamond ring and popped it straight in, and the turkey promptly swallowed it. "Now, let us wait until tomorrow," he said. Next morning, the whole court assembled. They welcomed the famous magic doctor with music and flowers, but the hangman was there too. The magic doctor descended and looked solemnly at everyone in turn. "Did you find the diamond ring, magic doctor?" asked the king at last. He waited for a reply, and so did the hangman. "Your Majesty," replied the magic doctor, "I can see everything, but I cannot see the ring. It is not in your palace, and it is not on any of your people. So, I want to see your animals." When all the animals of the palace were herded in, the magic doctor looked solemnly at each in turn. When at last he came to the turkeys, he stopped in front of the big one. "Here," he announced firmly, "here is your thief. He stole the ring." Whereupon the cook was summoned, and he removed the turkey. In no time at all, sure enough, the diamond ring was retrieved. Great was the joy in court, and the king was so delighted that he gave the magic doctor a coach and 4 as a reward. So the bootmaker and his wife drove home in triumph, and the hangman had no work to do that day. "This is the end of the magic doctor," said the bootmaker when they got home. "We were lucky this time, but I will not go on pretending any more. So let us give away the house, the coach, the hat, the coat, the table, the books and the papers, and return to our old cottage." And that is exactly what they did. The magic doctor became an honest bootmaker once more. He made the most beautiful boots again, and he is making them still, to this day.